I'm Ashwini Fokmare, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Shri Shivaji Arts, Commerce and Science College, Akot. Welcome you all in this 3 days national workshop on CSIR UGC NET preparation. I'm very much thankful to the organizer and team of Botany for you for giving me this opportunity. So let's get started.
Plant hormones are organic compounds which are synthesized within the cell. They control growth and development of a plant, and also they regulate germination, metabolism or other physiological activities. Then they synthesized at one side and carry out their functions on another side. Means if plant hormones are producing at some places, then it will show their functions on another side. They will show their response on another side. How will be the definition of this plant hormone? Plant hormones are defined as any of various hormones produced by plants that control or regulate germination, growth, development, metabolism or other physiological activities. And today we will discuss major plant hormones like auxin, cytokinins, gibberellins, abscisic acid and ethylene. Before discussing these plant hormones, we should know the movement of these plant hormones. So let's talk about it. Plant hormone shows two kinds of movements. One is the directional movement and second one is the non-directional movement. Now what is directional movement? So directional movement is a kind of polar movement. Means it is having a kind of a direction of a movement. And what is polar movement? Polar movement is means movement of a plant in only one direction. Means the movement it should be from apex to base and base to apex. Now this polar movement is also differentiated into two types. One is the basipetal movement and second one is the acropetal movement. What is basipetal movement? It means the movement of a plant hormone from apex to base, and acropetal means from base to apex. And what is non-directional movement? Means in this kind of a movement direction is not fixed, and these are the kind of non-polar movement. Means plant hormones can move anywhere in any direction. We will discuss these 5 major plant hormones on the basis of their movement, means on which direction they move, and which plant hormones are polar and which hormones are non-polar. So let's see these hormones which we are going to discuss. See, it's very easy to understand these plant hormones, but it's very difficult when questions came across. So I have prepared this chart for you, means there will be no confusion at all. So these are the 5 major plant hormones: auxin, cytokinin, gibberellic acid, ethylene and abscisic acid. Yes, there are also minor hormones, but it will take more time. So today we will just discuss about these 5 plant hormones, their biosynthesis and also signaling pathway of this. Let's see the first hormone, that is auxin, and it is, see the first point, it is synthesis from what? Tryptophan. The main source of formation of auxin, and the main auxin is IAA. So the main source of this auxin is the tryptophan, and tryptophan is aromatic amino acid. Then the function of auxin is cell elongation. The primary physiological effect of auxin in plants is to stimulate the elongation of cells in shoot. Next point is they move via phloem. So auxin is a plant hormone which move via phloem. Phloem and xylem are the vascular tissues. So phloem, then there is a movement. Which kind of a movement it is having? It is having a polar movement. If you observe this chart properly, You can see here only auxin is a plant hormone whose movement is polar, and all the plant hormones are having a non-polar movement. And polar movement means, as I discussed, it may be acropital and it may be basipital. So auxin is the only hormone whose movement is polar in nature. Next hormone is cytokinin. So cytokinin synthesis from adenine. And what is adenine? It is one of the nucleobases. And nucleobases are adenine, guanine, cytosine, etc. Then the function of cytokinin is cell division, and it moves via xylem. Then its movement is non-polar. Third one is the gibberellic acid, and its synthesis from IPP, that is isopentenyl phosphate. And the function of gibberellic acid is it functions as internode elongation, and it move via phloem, and the moment of this gibberellic acid is non-polar. Then fourth hormone is ethylene, and it is synthesized from methionine. Methionine is also an amino acid, and the main function of this ethylene is abscission. We will discuss later what is abscission. Then it moves via xylem, and its movement is also non-polar. Then the last one is the abscisic acid, and it is also synthesis from isopentenyl phosphate, that is IPP, and the function of this abscisic acid is it does dormancy. Then it moves via phloem, and the movement is also non-polar. See, you have to mug up it, because all these hormones are very confusing. All these hormones play very important role in different kinds of functions. But if you mug up it like this, see, for an example, if we see this chart properly, you have to remember the sequence of these hormones. First one is the auxin, second one is the cytokinin, third one is the gibberellic acid, fourth one is the ethylene, and last one is the abscisic acid. Then in next step you have to remember, let's see the example, move via phloem, xylem, phloem, xylem, phloem. To mug up is not good, but sometimes it's beneficial. So it was just a kind of how you can remember these plant hormones. So only remember this, that auxin is the plant hormone whose movement is polar, and all the plant hormones are having a movement non-polar in nature. Now let's see few minor hormones. One is the salicylic acid, and its function is defense mechanism. Second one is the jasmonic acid, who does defense as well as development. Then there is a minor hormone cysteamine, which also having a function of a defense, and brasinosteroids, it does cell division and development. So these are the minor hormones, but we will just see the biosynthesis of only major plant hormones. So let's see one by one. And the first hormone is auxin. Auxin is the first phytohormone, and it was discovered by the scientist Charles Darwin, who performed early auxin experiment on Canara glass, coleoptiles. He observed that the effect of hypothetical substance modulating plant shoot elongation to allow tropic growth towards light. Means there is a bending occur due to inhibition of auxin by activation of phytotrophine. Means see, he observed that coleoptile, it is bending towards a sun, towards a light, and if then he cut this tip of this coleoptile, and he observed that top of coleoptile there is no bending of it, and then also he does a light proof cap on it, and then also there is no bending of a coleoptile. So he observed that there is some substance is there which is responsible for the bending of a coleoptile towards light. Then number of scientists were there who performed different kinds of experiment on this. Then this was the scientists Boyson and Jensen. So they removed tip of this coleoptile and they add a gelatin inserted. It's a kind of a mica plate, and then they observed that there is a bending occurs. Then next scientist was Paul. He also removed the tip of the coleoptile, then tip placed on one side, and also there was a bending of this coleoptile. Then there was a scientist Wendt, he was from Holland, who isolated a plant growth substance by placing agar blocks under coleoptile tip for some time, then removing the placing them on decapitated Avena stems. And after placement of agar, the stems resumed growth. So from this he concluded that curvatures of stems were proportional to the amount of growth substance in the agar block, and the test is known as the Avena curvature test. And all of this because of the auxin, and the main auxin in plant is IAA, that is indole acetic acid. It is the major auxin involved in many of the physiological processes in plants, and it was discovered by Salkowski in 1885. Now let's see few auxins. These are the natural auxins, and natural auxins are IAA, indole acetic acid, then IBA, indole butyric acid, and IPA, indole propionic acid. These are the natural auxins. And synthetic auxins are picolinic acid, then 2,4-D, 2,4,5-T, and AA, naphthalene acetic acid, and dicamba. Now let's see antioxins. Antioxins means which block auxin transport, and these are natural antioxidants are quercetin and gestatin. Then synthetic antioxidants are TIBA, that is 2,3,5-triiodobenzoic acid, NPA, naphthyl thalamic acid, and 1-NOA, that is 1-naphthyl oxyacetic acid. So these are the antioxidants which blocks the auxin transport. Means if there is no need of auxin synthesis, then these antioxidants will block the transfer of the auxin. Now let's see the biosynthesis of auxin. So biosynthesis of auxin takes place in all the meristematic cells, rapidly dividing cells, young cells, roots, hydrothores, surrounding cells. So you know the primary source of this synthesis of auxin is the tryptophan, an aromatic amino acid. If the reaction is catalyzed by CYP8381 enzyme, then tryptophan will convert into indole 3-acetonitrite, and this is the IAN pathway. CYP8381 is the cytosolic protein. CYP means cytosolic protein. Then if the enzyme catalyze the reaction, then tryptophan will convert it into tryptamine, and the enzyme is TRP carboxylase, and this is the TAM pathway. Third pathway is the IAM pathway, in which tryptophan is converted into indole acetamide in the presence of TRP monooxygenase, and the last pathway is the IPA pathway, in which there is a conversion of tryptophan in indole 3-pyruvic acid in presence of aminotransferase. See, TAM and IPA pathway are the primary pathway for auxin synthesis in plants. Then IAM pathway, it is found in bacteria, and IAN pathway is present in Brassicaceae, Poaceae, and Musaceae family. So this was about the biosynthesis of auxin. Now let's see, if tryptophan is absent, what will happen? There is a need of synthesis of auxin, but tryptophan is not there. Then what will happen? This pathway will be synthesis. There is a shikimic acid which will convert into chlorismate. Then chlorismate in presence of anthranilate synthase will convert it into anthranilide, and it will give rise to indole 3 glycerol phosphate, which will shows two pathway, that is IPA pathway and TAM pathway, and these are the pathways which are the primary pathway for auxin synthesis. This will happen when tryptophan is absent. Now let's see what will happen, how is the transport takes place. So here is one model, and that is chemoosmotic model. So how the auxin transport takes place. This is the cell wall in which there is a plasma membrane is present, and on which there are the pin proteins are present. These are the efflux carrier pin proteins. See, auxin enters into the cell directly in the form of IAAH, means it's a protonated form, it's a hydrophobic, and through passive transport it enters into the cell. But we need a deprotonated form. So what will happen? It will convert it into IAA, because the pH of this plasma membrane, means the cytoplasm is 7 and the cell wall is 5. So it get deprotonated into the cell cytoplasm, and then this IAA will be transported to next cell through apoplast, and apoplast is the pathway, and this pathway means there is a space in between cell wall and plasma membrane, and in this space molecules can diffuse freely. That is why it is the apoplast, and through this apoplast pathway this IAA will be transferred from one cell to the next cell. So this was about the auxin transport, and it is the chemoosmotic model. Now let's see the signaling pathway. There is a receptor for all the auxin signaling, and this is ABP1, that is auxin binding protein 1, and these are the gene families for auxin. If there is a need in growth and development, then these gene family will show their function. So the growth and development, these are the gene families, that is AUX, IAA, SAUR. SAUR means small auxin upregulatory gene family, and this is the GH3, that is Gretchen-Hagen 3. And if there is a stress condition, then these enzymes will show their function, and these are glutathione S transferase and ACC synthase, that is 1-aminocyclopropane carboxylate synthase. Now let's see two conditions. If auxin is there and auxin is absent, what will happen? And the first condition is auxin is absent. If auxin is absent, there is no need of this another response gene families, like we have seen this SAUR, SOR, GH3, that is Gretchen-Hagen 3. So there is no need of this gene family. So there is a need of inhibition, and it does by this factor, that is ARF. First one is the ARF. It is the auxin response factor, and this is the primary regulatory factor of auxin. Primary regulator of auxin, which can activate or suppress the auxin signaling pathway. So we have seen the growth and development gene family, that is AUX and IAA. This is the secondary regulator for auxin signaling. If this ARF binds to this AUX IAA, there will be formation of a heterodimer, and which is responsible for the suppression of different gene family. Means when these two factors, that is ARF and AUX IAA, get dimerized, and they will form the heterodimer. This will inhibit the transcription of other auxin response gene family, and this is the first condition when auxin is absent. Now what happens when auxin is present? So here is the condition 2. When auxin is present, AUX binds with ABP1, this is the receptor which is present in all the auxin signaling. So there will be binding of this OX to the ABP1, and then there will be inhibition of this OX IAA and TIR1AFB. It is F-box transporter inhibitor response 1 and auxin signaling F-box protein. So they will be ubiquitalized, and it will be going to the 20XS proteasome. Then this ARF factor, the destruction of this gene family will be takes place because of the binding of this ARF, and now ARF is free, so these two ARF will be form homodimer, and because of the formation of this homodimer, early gene expression will takes place. So ARF is primary regulator of auxin signaling, which can activate as well as it can suppress the auxin signaling pathway. So this was about the auxin biosynthesis and auxin signaling pathway. Now let's talk about the second hormone, cytokinin. So what is cytokinin? The first cytokinin was isolated from herring sperm in 1955 by Miller and his associates. This compound was named kinetin because of its ability to promote cytokinesis. Cytokinesis means cell division. Then cytokinin influence growth and the stimulation of cell division. Cytokinins are synthesized in the roots and are usually derived from adenine, as we discussed in the chart. You can remember it. Then they move upward in the xylem and pass into the leaves and fruits, where they are required for normal growth and cell differentiation. See, only auxin is there who's having the polar movement, but all these plant hormones are having the non-polar movement. So cytokinin movement is the non-polar movement. Now let's see the natural cytokinin, dihydroxyatine and isopentenyl adenine. These are the natural cytokinins, and synthetic cytokinin are benzyl adenine and thiodiazurone. Let's see the biosynthesis of cytokinin. Root tip is the primary site for cytokinin biosynthesis. Any meristematic tissue can synthesize cytokinin, and it is a type of bulk transport, and its movement is via xylem, and the movement is non-polar. Let's see how this cytokinin signaling takes place. So this is the signaling of cytokinin. Cytokinin signaling is similar to two component system of a bacteria. This is the system of a bacteria, two component system of bacteria, in which there is a input protein which is a sensory protein, and there is a response regulatory protein. This is the output protein which gives the response. And in bacterial system, what happens, this sensory protein will add the phosphate group on this histidine, and it will add phosphate group on this histidine phosphorylation domain. So in plants also there is an input and output element, but in plants there are two domains are present. The input domain is known as hybrid sensory histidine kinase, and the output domain is known as the Arabidopsis response regulator protein. Now let's see how signaling takes place. If cytokinin is there, this chase domain will phosphorylate the input domain which is present in the cytoplasm, and then it will phosphorylate it, self phosphorylation takes place. Then this input domain will phosphorylate the histidine, and this histidine after phosphorylation goes into the nucleus, and then this histidine will phosphorylate the output domain, by which there will be a response of different kinds of transcription factor, and then there will be regulation of transcription takes place, which will regulate other genes. Let's talk about third plant hormone, gibberellic acid. GA3 is the most commercial and common form of gibberellin. Plant in their normal stage produce large amount of GA3. This gibberellic acid is a simple gibberellin, a pentacyclic diterpine acid promoting growth and elongation of cell. This GA, that is gibberellic acid, was first identified in Japan in 1926 as a metabolic byproduct of the plant pathogen Gibberella fusariae. And this is the structure of this gibberellic acid. And now let's see the biosynthesis of this gibberellic acid. Gibberellic acid synthesis takes place in juvenile leaves and germinating seeds. See, gibberellic acid formation takes place through these three paths. First, in the chloroplast, there will be takes place some reactions from which it will pass to the ER, and then there will be formation of these different kinds of gibberellic acid in the cytosol. So what happens in chloroplast? Here is the GGPP, that is geranyl diphosphate. It converts into entchorin. This reaction takes place in chloroplast, and after this reaction entchorin will transfer into this endoplasmic reticulum, in which there will be formation of first gibberellic acid, and it named as gibberellic acid 12, from which there will be formation of these cytosolic gibberellic acid. So if there is a enzyme gibberellic acid 20 oxidase, then this entchorin gibberellic acid 12 will convert into gibberellic acid 15. And if there is an enzyme GA13 oxidate, it will convert it into GA53. You just have to remember these two things, that which gibberellic acid are inactive and which are the active form. So inactive form are gibberellic acid 9 and gibberellic acid 20, then gibberellic acid 34 and gibberellic acid 8. These are the inactive form of gibberellic acid, and the active form of gibberellic acid is GA4 and GA1. To make gibberellic acid active form, there is an enzyme gibberellic acid 3 oxidate. It converts inactive form of gibberellic acid into the active form of gibberellic acid. And then if there is a need of inactivation of gibberellic acid, then there will be a function, there will be a gibberellic acid 2 oxidase, which will inhibit the activated form of gibberellic acid. So this was about the biosynthesis of gibberellic acid. Now let's see the signaling. Gibberellic acid signaling is used to release alpha amylase from aileron cells at seed germination stage. If gibberellic acid is there, it will activate the gibberellic acid receptors, that is GID1, which will inhibit the डेला प्रोटीन को अगर इनहिबिट किया तो डेला टारगेटेड जीन्स जो है they will be not able to induce the gibberellic acid growth. So DELA protein there is a need to inhibit this DELA protein, and if then it will not inhibit the PIF3 and PIF4 genes, target genes, and because of which there will be gibberellic acid, it will be induce the growth. So this was about the signaling of gibberellic acid. Then fourth amino acid is ethylene. Ethylene is the only gaseous hormone all plants synthesized, but meristem and nodal part are main site, and the formation of ethylene takes place in a stress condition. This is the biosynthesis of ethylene. So for the biosynthesis of ethylene, there is a need of amino acid methionine. This methionine is converted into as adenosyl methionine, which further converted into 1-aminocyclopropane 1-carboxylic acid, that is ACC. And here is the enzyme which is responsible for this reaction, that is ACC synthase. And then there is a enzyme ACC oxidase which will convert this ACC into the ethylene. This is how the biosynthesis of ethylene takes place. ACC oxidase is an enzyme which works at very high temperature and if there is a stressful condition. And if we don't need a ACC synthase enzyme, if there is no need of production of this ethylene, then there is a one acid, that is amino oxyacetic acid, that is AOA, which will inhibit this ACC synthase. These two are the rate limiting step, means conversion of S-adenosyl methionine into 1-aminocyclopropane carboxylic acid and its conversion into the ethylene. These are the rate limiting step. Now let's see its signaling pathway. Its signaling resembles with two component system. Here there are two conditions. If what will happen when ethylene is absent and what will happen when there is ethylene is present. So the first condition is in the absence of ethylene. So these are the genes ETR1, ETR2, ERS, EIN4. All the genes produces CTR1. What is CTR1? It is the constitutive triple response, and ETR1 is the ethylene resistant 2. If ethylene is not there, ETR1 will be in the activated form, and which will activate this CTR1, which will inhibit the EIN2. What is EIN? It is the ethylene insensitive, means there will be no response of ethylene, means other genes will be not formed. And if in condition 2, if ethylene is present, what will happen? It will inhibit this ETR1 and other genes, that is ethylene resistant. These are the ethylene resistant protein which will be not able to produce this CTR1, and this CTR1 will be inactivated, and due to which other target genes will be produced. See, these reactions are taking place into the endoplasmic reticulum and nucleus, and there is a EIN, that is ethylene insensitive 2. It cannot directly enter into the nucleus. That's why there is a need to convert it into EIN3. So it will convert into EIN3, and this EIN3 will go into the nucleus, which will further activate the ERF, and it will give the ethylene response. So this is the signaling pathway of ethylene. Now let's discuss our fifth plant hormone, that is abscisic acid. This abscisic acid has given a name dormine, and the name given because it causes the dormancy. All the cells which have chloroplast or other plastid can synthesize abscisic acid in stress condition. Abscisic acid synthesis takes place through this plant natural xanthophyll pigments, that is vioxanthin. Vioxanthin will be converted into neoxanthin, and this neoxanthin will convert abscisic acid via abscisic acid aldehyde. This abscisic acid can be stored in free form, it can be stored in cytosol and vacuole, and it can be stored in the conjugated form. Now let's discuss a very last part of this topic, and that is signaling of this abscisic acid. So in drought condition, in stress condition, there will be production of calcium ions which will form a phosphoprotein cascade, which will give rise to different kinds of transcription factors, and these transcription factors are responsible for formation of different kinds of enzymes. These are the ZEP, NCED, abscisic acid 2, then AAO, and then FCSU. All these enzymes will help in the formation of the abscisic acid. So there will be conversion of beta carotene into zeaxanthin, zeaxanthin into violoxanthin, violoxanthin into neoxanthin, neoxanthin into xanthosine, and xanthosine will be form abscisic acid via abscisic acid aldehyde. And if there is no need of this abscisic acid, then this abscisic acid can be converted into phasic acid and diphasic acid also. So this was all about the major 5 plant hormones: auxin, cytokinin, gibberellic acid, ethylene and abscisic acid, and their biosynthesis, and also we have discussed its signaling pathway. Again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.